Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, where you can awaken your mind to clarity and success even in today's life challenges. We're here to provide insights and solutions that will help you live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hello, everybody. This is Joanne Victoria with another amazing episode of the Sanity Project podcast. The Sanity Project podcast is for people to awaken their minds to clarity and success. And we have somebody who steps right into that category today. Our guest today is Glenn Lundy. Glenn Lundy is the author of The Morning Five Simple Steps to an Extraordinary Life, which he also says is free at The Morning Five. The five is numeric.com, themorning5.com. Glenn Lundy is a husband to one, a father to 7 gorgeous children, since I looked at their picture, and the host of the wildly popular Facebook Live show, Rise and Grind. Glenn Lundy has been seen at places like Hustle and Grind Con, Grow Your Business for God's Sakes, and many more stages across the country. With a background in sales and finance, Glenn Lundy uses his skill sets to create growth, as well as tapping into the mental side of human development. Welcome to the show, Glenn Lundy.
Wow. Joanne Victoria, that was awesome.
Like, oh God, and it's all about you.
I know. How incredible is that, right? But my good, when you put it that way, like I wish I was interviewing Ed Milet once, and he said, I wish my kids would like read that bio every time I walk in the door.
No kidding.
It feels so good, right?
Great.
Thank you for that. It's an honor to be here. I really appreciate you.
Well, I am grateful as well. I'm grateful for you to be here. And when I looked at all your stuff on your website, and people, don't leave right now, but when you do leave, go to glennlundy.com and see what he is offering you. And the prices are like so low. You got to raise your prices. The glennlundy.com, he's gives you everything in every format possible. And today, Glenn has offered to talk to us about leadership and management in the millennial era. And I think that's just great. Is that something you're doing now?
So I ran a dealership for 8 years in a small little town, Paris, Kentucky. And in that dealership, I basically was able to build a team of millennials, majority millennials, not all millennials, but the majority of them were millennials. And we were able to take that dealership and grow 800% over a period of just over 5 years. Taking it from a small kind of hometown dealership to the second largest used car dealership in the country. So now I don't work directly with those millennials anymore, but now I work with dealerships all over the country with their leaderships so that they can create the same environments, kind of like what we had in my experience at that store.
So what got you here? I mean, how did your path go? What was your journey to where you are today, and including the auto dealerships? I mean, you didn't, at 8 years old, did you decide you wanted to sell cars or help people? I mean, people are always interested in the journey because then they can identify with the humanity in the individual. So share your journey a little bit before we talk deeply, or you talk deeply about leadership and management.
Yeah, sure. I'd be honored to. So at 8 years old, I did not determine I wanted to be a car salesman at that point in time.
Darn.
But at 8 years old, I was selling. Like I started selling candy to kids in school. I figured out that I could buy a box of blow pops for like $3.25. And if I sold them for a quarter a piece, I'd make $14 on it, right?
Right.
And so I used to sell candy, and all through school, I was always in sales, some legal, some not legal. But I was always in sales. And when I was in college, I was in my first year of college, I met a young lady, and her and I quickly and rapidly made some poor decisions that ultimately led to my first child, which was amazing, my daughter, Kira. And so when I had Kira at 20 years old with a woman that I'd barely known, that's when I was like, oh my gosh, like I've got to get like a big boy job. I have to grow up a little bit here at this point. And I stumbled across an article in a newspaper that said make $5,000 a month guaranteed, right? And
That'll do it.
yeah, back then I was like, oh my gosh, I could retire off that. And so I went and I applied, and it was a Nissan Subaru dealership in Flagstaff, Arizona. And they hired me on the spot. And from there, it was a whirlwind of sales. And I mean, just the car business lifestyle is very unique, to say the least. And so I basically dove right into, 80-hour work weeks and working 7 days a week and not having a life outside of work. And any life that I did have outside of work was not a very healthy one, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of went down this rabbit hole in the car business. I was really, really good at it. I was always really, really good at selling cars. And so my career continued to progress, but my life outside of the dealership continued to digress, ultimately to the point where me and this young lady, we split up. And at 6 years old, I lost custody of my daughter. I wasn't allowed to see her. And so at that point, I left the car business. I hated the car business. I didn't want to do anything to do with it. I blamed it for everything. And so even though I was really good at it, I didn't want anything to do with it anymore. And I began to travel and try to find myself. And we got to keep this short because I know it's a shorter podcast, but long story short, that path took me down one where I was in and out of jail, in and out of drug use, ultimately homeless in San Diego at one point, depression, suicidal, all of those things. And I had this experience where I actually attempted to take my own life unsuccessfully.
Thank God. How would there be a Glenn Lundy if you did that?
It'd be really weird if you were interviewing me and I had successfully done that, right?
Well, that's been known to happen, though, with me. But here you are.
Right.
Here you are, Glenn Lundy, teaching people that even if you fail even if you failed at suicide, but even if you fail, you can succeed.
Yeah, that failure led me towards a new path where I ultimately ended up in Kentucky, and I met my wife, and we have all those babies that you were talking about there. I have 7 kids total, and similar situation. I met her quickly. She got pregnant, and it was like, here I am again. What am I going to do? How do I not make the same mistakes I made before? And so when I decided to get back in the car business, I had made a decision at that point that I was not going to do any of the things that I did before. And I literally wrote down a list of all the things that I hated as an employee in the auto industry and of all the things my customers hated as a customer in the auto industry. And when I went to this new dealership, I was determined to do the exact opposite of all of those things. And in doing that, developing an incredible culture, building up these millennials, working with an incredible owner, a very forward-minding, just an incredible. I had an incredible mentor the entire time I was there. And so with that, as a team, we were able to create incredible success doing things 1,000,000% against the grain of how most dealerships did business.
I like disruptors.
Thank you.
Yeah, seriously, there's no other place that I'm happier. So all of that experience, good, bad, whatever, I don't know if you had any bad experiences because of the outcome. It took you a while to get where you got, but you defeated your ego, which is great because your ego kept trying to take you back to the same place over and over, and yet your conscious mind and your conscious choices, like making that list, brought you here today. And that's a miracle.
It is a miracle. That's really the only way to describe it.
Absolutely. So what's different today about leadership and management in the millennial era? Give us some tips or a strategy or what. Just tell us what's different and how the leaders and managers listening and viewing on Facebook can approach their millennial employees, contractors, however they work.
Yeah, sure. There's a couple basic words that I keep in mind when I'm working with millennials or helping others to develop culture with millennials, and I keep these words in mind. So it's corporate family values. Those three words mean so much, right? Corporate is your business. Family is a completely different dynamic than anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then values. What are your values? So when we consider those three things, I think that's how people need to lead today. So back in the day when I worked in a dealership, and you've heard this probably, you've probably heard this 60 million times in your life. People always say, like, the customer is always right? That's what they always say. And we build these businesses around our customers. And I believe that that's a flawed system. I believe that we need to build our businesses around our employees. And
yes, I totally agree. And then the customers, I was in sales. I sold houses years ago, and I was really good. And, my shadow job, the job before I came to helping others in a bigger way, as you are as well. But I would have people come in and saying, I don't want a big yard. I don't want a pool. I just want, concrete, no grass. And I'd wind up selling them a pool and a mini vineyard, and all under the same price, because they don't know what they want.
Right.
And guarantee you've trained your employees to source more data from their buyers.
Yes, absolutely. 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. And so we just treated them differently. We put the employees first, trained them properly, gave them the training that they need. We follow this process, or I always follow this process of LEAD. If you spell out the word LEAD, it's an acronym, and I say you listen, and then you encourage, and then we advise, and then we develop, and we do it daily. Millennials they're different, man. If you can get millennials on your team, oh my gosh, if you can give them a map and some purpose and direction, they're brilliant. They're brilliant, and their ability to adapt. They'll run through walls for you. They'll do all of those things, but you can't treat them the way I got treated growing up in the business.
Right.
Where I got kicked in the teeth and, had to work my 80 hours a week. And it was always do it or get fired, or, that type of leadership, which worked for me back then. But millennials are a different breed. You got to treat them like a family member, and sometimes we argue and sometimes we don't necessarily agree, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, with family members, we love them. We love them whether we like them or not.
I know. Isn't that amazing? And how good that you've approached it that way. Now, would you repeat the LEAD, please?
Yeah, sure. So the L is listen, followed by encourage, and then we advise, and then we develop. And we do it daily. And the reason I break it down this way is people are far more responsive. You've heard it, 2 ears, 1 mouth, right?
Correct.
So if we start off by listening, if our intention is to go in and listen, like if we're holding a meeting, I suggest that you show up before anybody else. If you're the leader, show up first, set some music, set the tone, and then just sit and listen. And when you listen, you'll hear that one of your employees maybe has a sick mother that they're concerned about, or maybe one of your employees was up all night playing Fortnite and video games and drinking, or, you hear things. So when we sit and we listen and we hear, we now have an opportunity to engage and actually develop a relationship with our employees so that we can ultimately move them. So we start by listening. Then if we follow that with encouragement, right? Hey, you're going to, hey, I know that your mom's been sick. Just want you to know, I'm praying for you, so on and so forth, right? We encourage. Now that we've listened to our millennial employee, or any employee for that sense, we've listened to them first. Now we've encouraged them, something positive. Now we've earned the right to advise. See, too many leaders will go straight to the advise. Hey, you guys messed this up. You messed this up. You should have done this. You didn't do this. But you haven't earned that right yet. First, you got to listen to me. Then you need to encourage me, make me feel good. And then I'll listen when you advise me. At that point, you've shown me respect. You've made me feel good about myself. Now I'll listen to your advice. Then you have to follow the advice with development. Teach me how to do it right. If I'm doing it wrong, teach me how to do it right. And then understand that I'm not just going to learn these things overnight. So we got to do this daily until I figure it out.
Well,
right?
That's great and interesting that you focus on the word encouragement, because when you're talking about encouraging people, your employees or anyone else in our lives, you're coming from the heart with that. Courage comes from the heart, and when you encourage, you increase your heart to other people. So if you are communicating, as you stated in your example, you heard when the leader listens and hears that one of their employees or contractors has the mother is ill, and when you inquire about that, you're inquiring with your heart, not just your head.
That's right.
And all of that creates the family that you're talking about. Now, people that are listening here or on your Facebook page, re-listen to this when it's over. When we conclude, re-listen, re-watch, do whatever you need to do. Multiple, you can listen to it several ways. But it's really important to know that you have to deal with people with your heart.
Yeah. No,
and Glenn Lundy is doing that.
And so is Joanne Victoria. You're clearly a great listener.
You got me.
I've been waiting.
Got it. Well, that's an important acronym that you gave. It's really perfect. And what's interesting is that people learn from these acronyms. They like them. They'd rather have an LEAD than a paragraph or an article or a book about leadership. Because it's small bites.
You're consuming small bites. Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
And we're going to consume in smaller bites as we move forward, because people aren't going to want to listen to the diatribes that people put out. It's got to be small and useful.
Yeah.
So that is just great.
Joe Rogan. We don't need to be having these 3 hour sessions.
Yeah, well, he gets paid to do that, so that's different. It's like we're volunteering.
That's right. You are spot on.
We're volunteering. We're sitting here doing this for our own amusement and helping educate the people who are listening. But we're volunteering. We're not good. We don't. My web. When guests come on, they know beforehand that they get 24 minutes, maybe 25. That's it. And you know how much you can do in 24 minutes? It's amazing.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
So keep going. Glenn Lundy, keep going. What's next in managing and leading millennials?
Okay, yeah. So we're treating them like family. We're using this lead process. And one of the things about millennials that I think really, especially my generation, I had a hard time understanding it at first, is millennials really need a roadmap, right? So
yeah, they need guidance.
Yeah, I mean, they grew up, if you think about how they grew up with these devices and these computers and so on and so forth. And if you click this, it does this. If this, then this, right? That's right. How their brain works. If this, then this.
Correct.
We grew up in a kind of a more creative, make up the rules for the games, whereas they were given the rules to the games. So if this, then this. So when I work with millennials, I think it's really important to give them a roadmap. So I would sit down with the salespeople and say, okay, great. You're new to sales. Here's what it's going to look like. Here's the expectation. We expect 1 car a day out of you every day that you're at work. And don't worry, I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know in order to get to that place. Now, if you do this really, really well and you continue and you get good reviews, and I lay it all out, I say, if you do this really, really well, in 12 to 18, possibly 24 months, you may have an opportunity to move into this position. Now, this is a sales manager position or a finance manager position. Once you get into that position, if you stay there for 2 years, you have an opportunity to move to GSM. If you stay there for 2 years, now none of this is real.
Correct.
Right? We don't know that any of this is going to happen. But when you paint that picture for a millennial, it settles in, and it rids them of, see, a lot of companies, they say, well, millennials, I can only keep them, 17 months, or they leave after. They're always job jumping, and they're job jumping because you haven't given them a path. They don't realize or understand, okay, I've got to do this for 2 years. Glenn said if I do this for 2 years, then I can maybe move to this new position, right? And then once I'm there, if I do that for 3 years, maybe I can move to another. So once they have finish lines, then it's easier to retain them. It's also easier to, for lack of better words, I don't mean to demean millennials or anything like that, but are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Right,
Are we there
right,
yet?
right.
We can get rid of the "are we there yet?" right? If you just give them a roadmap that they can understand and they can work, and when you do that, the retention goes through the roof. It's incredible.
Yeah, you've opened up a new pathway in their brain, and on that pathway, they will do whatever it takes to achieve the goal that you presented to them. Real or not, it doesn't matter, because we all go after real and unreal goals. So, but your genius is in giving them the pathway in their brain. And as they are younger, that pathway, also called neuroplasticity, that new pathway in the brain is much easier to occur in younger people, like your children, for example, obviously. But also you're teaching them social skills along the way, which is really something that is not taught. But in the conversation that you have with them, you're teaching them how to communicate effectively, how to be kind to other people, how to invite other people to the table. I mean, so many things.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm a firm believer that we need to teach our people life skills, not just job skills.
Correct.
Like tremendous, especially in the auto industry itself. And obviously that's where I've lived 20 years of my life, so I refer to it a lot. But the lack of life skills, car people make good money, but no one teaches them what to do with it. Mm-hmm. Car people have wives and children, but nobody teaches them how to treat them. Like it's really bad. It's awful in a sense. You've got a whole army of incredible individuals across the country that are living on, Red Bull energy drinks and running through divorces and raising their kids in multiple homes and living paycheck to paycheck, even though they're making, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year. And really that's just what it comes down to. And so with my teams, we always make sure to develop their life skills, give them those opportunities, talk to them about what it's like to be in a healthy relationship. We promote taking care of yourself physically. We promote, obviously, my book, The Morning Five. We promote a solid, powerful morning routine where you wake up every single day with intention and purpose, right? So by teaching these guys these things, you can really extract greatness out of these incredible individuals.
Not everybody is learned much about life skills from their parents. We learned what they knew, and for most of us, ordinary people, how I label that, I don't even know. Our parents were normal, the ordinary. They weren't, what's the dude with the car, the self-driving car? His parents were extraordinary.
Yes.
Brilliant parents.
I just thought Tesla. That's the car. What's his
Yes,
name?
that's who we're talking about. So, and anybody who's listening or watching knows who we're talking about. Elon. Okay. So his parents, his father, they were all scientists and just extraordinary people. He was blessed. I consider that blessed. A lot of people weren't blessed with parents who told them what right and wrong was, how to get, along with others, how to make a buck and save a buck, that kind of thing. I know my mother, every time my mother saved a buck, my father spent it. But, that's all I learned, the essence of what I learned. And, I know that anybody who's in sales of automobiles who makes the kind of money and more that you're talking about they don't have that training, and you're there to help them.
That's right. Yeah.
I think that's absolutely amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Believe me, this is what my audience needs. If they want to awaken their mind to clarity and success, they have to know that they need a path. and the plan. You're not just creating a new path for these people. You're helping these people create this plan.
Right.
If you do this, this is going to happen. Well, maybe something else will happen, but they're prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. Get rid of the unknowns, right? Like,
yes,
they're still unknowns, but
as much as
make them feel as though they're not unknowns.
Yeah, as much as possible, save their butts.
That's right.
From going mad or leaving after 18 months, which is, especially since I live in the greater Seattle area and am surrounded by technology, these people, I didn't even mean to say it that way. That sounds so derogatory, but there are many millennials, many young millennials, because now they're going to the next stage. It's
right.
It's Generation X or Y, I'm not sure.
V? Gen Z.
Okay. If they get bored at a job, they leave the same day.
Right.
They don't stay. They don't try to make it work because nobody else is making it work for them. If they go in and find a company, and believe me, there are many who do not have a plan, who do not have the big plan that they should have, the company. It doesn't help the employee who says, I don't have any guidance. I'm supposed to come in here and do something to help you. So if you're doing this with the automobile industry, you can do this with anyone. Okay, so before we end here, I want you to come up with one tip. We've got the 5 Steps book that they can get free online at themorning5.com, 5 Simple Steps to an Extraordinary Life.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of stuff on your website at Glenn Lundy, GLENNLUNDY.com. Free and fee, all reasonable, obviously. But what would you tell people to do right now tell the leaders right now what they need to do? Give them
right
a tip.
Now, if you're a leader in any organization, especially with all of the things that are going on, it's an unprecedented time for human civilization, really. And I think what I would tell all of my leaders, and I have been telling the leaders that I've been working with, is what a tremendous opportunity you have to now create the business that you really wanted. So people have been, for lack of a better word, stuck mentally and physically in doing things a certain way for so long. And as we don't like or try to avoid change, as you know, it's very difficult to get people to shift and to change, right? We tend to do what's worked, and okay, well, it's been that way and we're going to keep it that way. And yeah, we know we should maybe do some things, but we're not, right? Well, now everybody, literally, like I could say, Joanne, Victoria, I have a great idea. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our business, our brick and mortar, we're going to paint the whole thing red, blue, green, purple, and yellow. And I'm going to put aqua polka dots all down the side of it. And right now, because of our current state of civilization, you would probably be like, I don't know if that will work or not, but I don't know what's going to work, right?
Yeah, right. I love aqua, by the way. That is actually, aqua is one of my favorite colors. So good that you hit on that.
Nice, I nailed it.
Yes, you nailed it, Glenn Lundy.
You would be open to that. And I think I think anybody would right now. People are open to change. So I would say, if you're a leader in your organization, now's an opportunity to take a look into the future. Let's pretend. Don't think about what you're going to do for the next week. Don't think about what you're going to do for the next 3 weeks. Don't think about what you're going to do for the next 3 months. Think about how you can now build the business you really wanted, right? The one that you really wanted. Here's your clean slate. 3 things are going to happen. Either businesses right now are going to go under. They're going to survive, right? They're going to survive. They're going to get through it. Or they're going to grow and thrive. Those are the only 3 things. And so I suggest that people look forward to build the business that they want today. Build it on like locked arm in arm with an incredible workforce of millennials. Lead them, nurture them, culture them like they're your family, and you have an opportunity to really go out and make an impact on this planet.
That's it, people. You got it. From Glenn Lundy at glennlundy.com. Rise, which is wake up, people, evolve, which is change people, and impact, do something different. I want to thank Glenn Lundy for being here today because he's been an extraordinary guest and I've had a lot of fun. So for those who will go to my website at askjoannevictoria.com, you can download a free book called The True Self Handbook, a guide to transform your life. And you can get a free report called 5 Steps to Life Work Harmony. I hope everybody has a great day, and whether you're listening via podcast or watching/listening via Facebook, please go to Apple, and when you can, and give Glenn Lundy. This is not going to be posted for a while on my website, so you can wait a bit. But when that time comes, give Glenn Lundy a 5-star review. You can obviously do it on his Facebook page. Everybody have a great day. Glenn Lundy, bye-bye. Talk soon.
Hey, thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com to listen to more podcasts. Check out Joanne's coaching programs and get a free copy of her report, 5 Steps to Achieve Life-Work Harmony. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.